think it was Morgan Freeman. I think it was a Hollywood celebrity that said, the only way in which to stop racism is to stop speaking about it. And I was like, genius. I guess the only way to stop cancer is to stop speaking about it also. You know, if something exists, if we stop speaking about it, maybe it won't exist anymore. It's like, come on, Sherlock, don't be dumb. That thing raised its head again. That thing. That racism thing. What? That thing called racism. It raised its head again.
Oh, yes.
This week.
Oh,
now,
yes.
When it raised its head this week, what surprised me more, and I said this to people, okay? I am not surprised that racist people exist. I'm not surprised that racism exists. I'm more surprised that people are surprised that racism exists, right? And racist people exist. Because it's like, this thing has been around for a very long time. Please, let's stop thinking that it's not going to raise its head at some point. And I actually think, right, we're going to get into it, but I think it was a man I think it was Morgan Freeman. I think it was a Hollywood celebrity that said, the only way in which to stop racism is to stop speaking about it. And I was like, genius. I guess the only way to stop cancer is to stop speaking about it also. You know, if something exists, if we stop speaking about it, maybe it won't exist anymore. It's like, come on, Sherlock, don't be dumb. It raises its head, you deal with it when it raises its head. But it raised its head in football this week, Jesse. Vinicius Jr. As a football man, you know Vinny.
Soccer. No.
Yeah, for all of my American family out there, we're talking about football, or what you call soccer. And for some reason, the Americans seem to call a sport that they run around with a ball in their hand football. And I don't know, we over here and the rest of the world, we call it football. You know why? Because we play with our feet. Makes sound crazy, but we play with our feet. We really do. Don't come for me, Americans. You just have to get with the times, okay? It's not, what you have is not called football. Call it something else. What we have is called football. That's me, you know, championing football. But in the news this week, Vinicius Jr. is one of the best players in the world, I would say.
No. Just factually, he just is.
Huh?
No, he just is. It's not your opinion. It's just a fact.
He's the best player in the world.
One of the.
He is. Yeah. He's one of the best players in the world. He was actually asked about the racism. He's actually Brazilian, black Brazilian, speaks Portuguese. He's actually asked today about the racism that he faces in football. And this is what he says. Jesse, you see the third video there?
This one here?
Okay. Yeah.
No jogo para que eu possa fazer o melhor para minha equipe, e às vezes nem sempre é possível. Então eu tenho que me concentrar muito todos os dias. Desculpa, é que eu só queria jogar futebol, só quero fazer de tudo pelo meu clube e pela minha família. Eu nunca he pensado tanto de poder sair de aqui, porque se salgo de aqui, estou dando todo lo racista lo que realmente ellos quieren. Y yo voy a seguir aquí luchando, jugando en el mejor club del mundo, ganando títulos, marcando muchos goles, para que las personas cada vez van a tener que ver más mi cara, porque yo sigo evolucionando para hacer estas cosas, por jugar fútbol, por hacer alegría de mi gente.
One of the things I would say is that when it comes to racism in football, racism and football seem to have a happy, unhappy marriage. It seems as if historically you can't get away from racism within football. Racism and football have been tied to each other since I can actually remember. As a matter of fact, it was racism that actually got me into football. So crazy. Racism got me into football because back in the day, because I support the best team in the world, Jesse, you'll never walk alone. The reason why I got...
Celtic.
Sorry?
Celtic.
Sorry?
Celtic.
The reason why I support the best team in the world, right? Liverpool. Yeah. And you support an okay team. Wigan. The reason why I support Liverpool is because racism got me into it. And back in the day, there was a man by the name of John Barnes. John Barnes was a black player, one of the few black players in the Premier League at that time. And he played really good for Liverpool. And I remember seeing a picture or it being reported that he was getting banana skins thrown at him on the pitch. And it was that got me into football and actually got me supporting him as a youngster. So shout out to John Barnes. I know it wasn't easy for you back then when I was like probably 9 years old or whatever it was, having banana skins thrown at you. But it seems like racism and football since then has reared its head. And even now, it's still rearing its head. And so, yeah, I don't think racism is actually going anywhere. When it comes, specifically when it comes to football.
It's not going anywhere. I think the reason, might be wrong here, I'm often wrong. If you look at like football, it's like the people's game. It's like a working class game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Factory workers, coal workers, those kind of, if you look at the origins of football in this country. And I feel like those are generally poor people. And poor people are always wary of other people coming to take their jobs, their land, and their women. Yeah. So I think it's that what fuels the racism. Because if you go to a game and you look at the people hurling the abuse and you look at their incomes and what they do for a living, they're probably towards the working class end of the spectrum.
Do you know what's interesting? I actually spoke about this racism in football to Josh Parker.
Oh yeah, shout out Josh Parker.
Shout out Josh Parker. Josh Parker is a captain of Antigua and Barbuda national team. He's played over here, and he's also played in all around the world.
Hey, what Diddy's? Ain't Diddy in Antigua right now?
Say again?
Ain't Diddy in Antigua right now?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably hiding.
Anyway.
He probably hiding. But we have a video there from what I spoke to Josh Parker about. Please, Jesse, let's just play that for a sec, please. I said you've been playing football all your life. In your career, have you yourself personally experienced racism within football?
Yes, probably more than most people because of the place that I played. I've experienced it subtly in changing rooms, like you might call it banter, and obviously banter is down to perception. Some people might take it different to me. But when you're raised in that environment, you kind of just become immune to it and you kind of learn to live with it. Certain things that you'd see in change rooms you'd never speak of because most of us would probably be in prison or condemned because it's just that football banter is just crazy.
But does it get that bad though?
No, not all. It just depends on, I think for me, it depends on the change room you're in. Like it just depends and it's just football. Like that's all I can say. It's just football. You have to be there to understand it. It is what it is. But when I was playing in places like Serbia, they're so detached from the world and how it works that they still believe we evolved from monkeys and the only reason we're here is because a human slept with a monkey. Like that's how crazy they think. So when I was there and I didn't score for my first 2 games, for Red Star, which is one of the biggest clubs in history, like my social media was full of racist stuff. Like
seriously?
I couldn't fathom it because I understand racism happens on a day-to-day basis. People are subjected to all this stuff on a day-to-day basis. But over not scoring in 2 games, that happens all the time.
Yeah, of course.
Ronaldo sometimes don't score for 2 games.
Right,
but
yeah.
I'm Josh Parker from Slough.
Right.
And I'm getting like 200-300 messages like, oh, you black monkey, CUNT, oh, you nigger this, you da-da-da. I'm thinking, is it that deep? I had a little, not a fallout with the club, we had a little disagreement that became public in the newspapers. then this is when the racism went to a next level, where I'm getting messages like, my partner who I'm with now, she was pregnant at the time, and they were like, I hope your monkey nigger baby dies. If they come here, we're gonna
Wow.
kick them. Yeah, it was crazy. Like, I couldn't process the fact that a human being could say this. You see it on social media, but sometimes I'm like, these people have no pictures, no, they're private. Is it just some made up like little government thing to trigger people?
Right.
But when I was experiencing it, I can go on the person's profile and see them.
See who it is.
And I'm like, you're actually like round the corner from me. Like, and you're saying all this stuff, and it's not just like little kids saying it, it's like grown adults. And I'm just like, where do we go? Like, I don't think you can ever erase it. I don't think you can.
Racism and football, they have been married for a very long time. And as Josh Parker stated, shout out to Josh Parker, a friend of mine, great footballer, has had a very illustrious career, played for QPR, played for Wycombe Wanderers, played for Red Star Belgrade, has done amazing stuff in his career, and still faced the racism. So when they spoke to Vinny about the racism that he faced, it was that.